Hi, this is the Year 7 Acids Reverse the Classroom, where we're going to tell you the facts before you actually do the unit itself. This is the plan through, so it's talking about what acids and bases are, the pH scale, examples of pH, about neutralization, making salts, and then making salt practical. Now firstly, what is an acid? An acid is a hydrogen-containing substance that can neutralize a base. So for example, HCl, H2SO4, that's hydrochloric acid, and that's sulfuric acid. And what they do is they contain H's, usually at the front, and it tells you it's an acid. A base is a substance that can neutralize an acid. So what it does, it actually soaks up the H's. An alkali is a soluble base. So what you have is you kind of have, there are all the bases, and in there you've got alkalis, which is kind of like a group of bases that are soluble, so they can dissolve with water. And a neutral substance is neither acid or base. For example, water. Now this is then the pH scale, right? Great, it's dead useful, right? And what you've got in the middle, I should do it in green really, shouldn't I? Right, in the middle you've got neutral, which is pH 7. And as it goes that way, it then becomes more alkaline. And as it goes that way, it becomes more acidic. Okay, so alkaline is kind of like a purpley colour. Acid is then, gets red. Now these are then some examples of certain kind of common substances with their pH. So just looking at a few of them here, right, we've got dilute sodium hydroxide, it's got a pH of 14, kind of that's one extreme. Dilute hydrochloric acid has got a pH of 0, which is kind of another extreme. Going along them, we've got stomach acid, doing it in a different colour. We've got lemon juice that's got a pH of 2. We've got vinegar that's got a pH of about 3. There's quite a few here in the middle that are around about 7-ish. We've got rainwater, distilled water, we've got fresh cow's milk, pure water and blood. Toothpaste, it's only some brands, it's not all brands of toothpaste, have a pH of about, looks like about 10.3. Lime water, and there's loads and loads of other different examples that we could put on a scale like that. Now this is then neutralization. This is the reaction between an acid and a base. And what it is, it's become neutralization. So you might have pH 2 and you might have pH 12. They react together and they come to a pH 7, which is neutralization. And the way that it works is you have an acid and a base, which makes salt and water. Now it's not salt as in the stuff that you put onto your chips, even though that is one example of it. It's where you combine the acid and the base together and you make water at the end with the combination of the metal and the non-metal in the previous ones. So even though this one is hydrochloric acid plus sodium hydroxide, what happens is that and that become the water. And whatever you've then got left becomes the salt. Now, coincidentally, this is sodium chloride, which is common table salt, but that's the principle behind it. These are then some examples. So what we've got here is we've got hydrochloric acid, right? And what that does is when it reacts, it makes chlorides. Okay, so it could be something like sodium chloride. It could be magnesium chloride. We've got nitric acid, which is HNO3. And when that reacts, it forms nitrates. That's a HNO3. Sulfuric acid, H2SO4, makes sulfates. Now, what I've got here at the bottom is I've got other examples of it. Hydrochloric acid plus sodium hydroxide, that is chlorine in it, it's got chloric in it, and it's got sodium in it. Those two then combine to make your sodium chloride, because the hydro bit and the oxide bit has then made the water. Nitric acid and copper oxide, I've got copper in it, I've got nitric, and I know that that's then going to make a nitrate. I make copper nitrate, and I've got my oxide, and because that's an acid, I've got a H at the front, it makes my water. Sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, that sulfate becomes the sulfate, iron becomes the iron, and then because I've then got a hydroxide, and I've got the H at the front, what I then do is I then get water. Now these are then the 5 questions. You need to write these down in your exercise book and then answer them. What is an alkali? You'll write a sentence. What is the pH of blood and toothpaste? You write blood, pH is, toothpaste, pH is. If I react an acid and a base together, what do I make? It's kind of a little equation. What pH is neutral? Easiest one in the world. What do I make if I react sulfuric acid and iron hydroxide? For that one, I want the equation writing out. Now, there's a lot of information. I think the hardest part of that is making the salts. Right, just have a look through it. All right, have a look through the information that I've then given you and try and work out exactly how I'm making those salts. Now, what you've got to do then is you've got to answer the questions and then be prepared for when you go into your lessons that you can then talk about it in a detailed scientific way.